Magic has shaped the destiny of the Forgotten Realms for untold ages. It pulses through the ley lines under snow-capped mountains and whispers on the winds over the churning seas. It dwells in the prayers of clerics, the incantations of sorcerers, and the runes etched by dwarven smiths deep beneath the earth. Magic is the lifeblood of Faerûn, and no one embodies its mysteries and dangers better than Elminster Aumar. Where lesser magicians learn a handful of cantrips and dream of glory, Elminster has spent centuries plumbing the depths of arcane and divine power. He is a trickster and a sage, a teacher and a terror, a meddler and a guardian. He is the Sage of Shadowdale, the old mage, one of the chosen of Mystra, and an immortal wanderer whose exploits span thousands of years of realms history. Many in the realms fear dragons, dread liches, or whisper about the schemes of archdevils. But those threats pale next to a wizard who cannot die. Wizards know the cost of magic and the temptation of forbidden knowledge, yet few can resist it. Some go mad, others grow corrupt, and still others burn themselves out in the pursuit of a single spell. Elminster has endured all those trials and more, emerging each time not only alive, but wiser and more powerful. He has seen empires rise and crumble, watched gods die and be reborn, and walked across plains that mortals can barely imagine. He has outlived kings, queens, heroes, villains, friends, lovers, and enemies, all while continuing to meddle in the lives of those around him with an infuriating combination of wit, generosity, and arrogance. It is difficult to separate the man from the legend, for the very tales told about Elminster have become spells that shape reality. He freely mixes truth with exaggeration, weaving stories that make him seem simultaneously more and less than he truly is. Some claim he was born of lightning on the summit of a mountain. Others insist he is an avatar of Mystra, disguised in mortal form. There are tales in Waterdeep taverns that he is secretly a dragon, and rumors whispered in Kalimport opium dens that he is a demon who steals souls. The truth is stranger still, and it begins not with a master of magic, but with a boy who hated wizards and everything they represented. To understand the old mage, one must first look at the world he was born into, and the tragedies that forged him. This is the story of Elminster Aumar, the wizard who cannot die, told through the lens of centuries, from simple beginnings to cosmic struggles, and through the eyes of those who have suffered, laughed, and learned at his side. It is a tale of courage, of temptation, of loss, of love, and above all of the enduring power of knowledge and the will to wield it responsibly. Elminster was born in the year of the Cataclysm, 212 DR, in the kingdom of Athalantar. His father, Elthrin Aumar, was lord of Helden, a village nestled beneath the shadow of the Stag Throne, and his mother, Amrithel Goldsheaf, was the daughter of a humble woodsman. Athalantar had once been a fertile land of rolling hills and golden grain fields ruled by wise kings, but by the time of Elminster's birth, it suffered under the tyranny of the Magolords. These cruel wizards used their magic to oppress and extort the people, taking what they wished and crushing any resistance with spell and sword. To Elthrin and Amrithel, the Magolords were a curse on their land, and they raised their children to despise tyranny and those who wielded magic to harm others. Elminster grew up with siblings who shared his playful spirit and quick wits. He roamed the forests and meadows with his siblings, learning to hunt with bow and spear and to respect the balance of nature. His father taught him the art of swordplay, and his mother told him stories of the old kings and of heroes who resisted injustice. Those tales filled Elminster's heart with dreams of freedom and a burning hatred for the magelords that would haunt him for years. The happiness of his early life was shattered when a Malogrim, a shape-shifting creature of darkness, assumed the form of Undal, one of the magelords. and slaughtered Elminster's family. The night of blood and fire left Elminster alone amid ruins, his father's broken sword in his hand and a promise of vengeance burning in his soul. He was too young to understand the politics of the Major Lords or the true nature of the Malaugrim, but he knew that wizards had destroyed his family. From that moment forward, he swore to kill magicians wherever he found them and to topple the Major Lords from their thrones. Grief hardened into anger, and anger fueled his determination to learn whatever he must to achieve revenge. With no family and no home, Elminster became a brigand, roaming the roads of Athalantar and striking at Magilord caravans whenever he could. He learned stealth and cunning, using the woods he had known as a child to ambush his foes. When killing proved too distasteful, he shifted his focus to theft, burglarizing the homes of the Magalords and using the proceeds to fund his campaign against them. In the city of Hastal, the capital of Athalantar, he met Faerûn, a local thief who became his first true friend in his new life. Faerûn recognized the fire within the young Elminster and welcomed him into the Velvet Hands, a gang that opposed the Moonclaws, servants of the Meglords. Elminster took the name Eladar the Dark and used his skills as a thief to rob the rich and protect the poor. The velvet gloves he wore symbolized both his allegiance to the gang and his promise to avenge his family without shedding unnecessary blood. The Moonclaws were not easily thwarted, and the years of thievery, pursuit, and close escapes sharpened Elminster's senses and taught him the importance of allies. The Velvet Hands were a family of sorts, and Eladar learned that loyalty to a cause could be as strong as blood ties. Through cunning and courage, he became known throughout Hastal's underworld as a master burglar and a clever opponent of the Major Lords. One night, while preparing for a burglary, Elminster overheard the current Magister, a wizard carrying the mantle of Azuth's power, ask someone whether he wished to study sorcery. The Magister's tone was casual, but it carried the weight of destiny. Elminster, consumed by his hatred of magic, refused the offer without hesitation. To him, magic was the tool of tyrants, and he wanted nothing to do with it. Unknown to him, however, the goddess Mystra, Lady of Mysteries, and Guardian of the Weave, had been watching the young brigand for some time. She saw in him not only anger and grief, but also a sense of justice and a desire to protect the powerless. Mystra understood that Elminster's hatred of magic came from what he had suffered, and believed that if he could learn to wield magic responsibly, he might become a force for good. She visited him in a dream within a temple, appearing as a vision of divine beauty. Her presence overwhelmed him, and though he did not recognize her identity, she told him to learn the ways of magic and to worship her. The goddess didn't force him onto a path. She simply offered him a choice that would change his life forever. Elminster was left stunned, torn between his vow to destroy all wizards and the words of a being who radiated compassion and wisdom. He wrestled with the idea that magic, when used properly, could protect instead of oppress. He continued his life as a thief, but his mind was no longer solely on vengeance. Mystra does not easily abandon those she chooses, and she continued to send signs to Elminster, guiding him toward a new destiny. One such sign came when an avatar of Mystra, known as Miriala Dark Eyes, appeared before him. Miriala was a mentor in disguise, a sorceress whose power and knowledge dwarfed that of the Magelords. She offered to teach Elminster magic, promising that with it he could fight the injustice he so despised. Though he still hated mages, Elminster saw the wisdom in learning his enemy's craft and accepted her tutelage. As part of his training, and to better understand the different perspectives within the realms, Mystra transformed him into a woman named Elmara. This change strengthened his connection to the Weave by forcing him to experience life through different eyes. It also allowed him to move within the circles of the Magelords without them recognizing him as Elthrin's son or the outlaw Eladar. As Elmara, he became a priestess of Mystra, learning piety and humility while studying the intricate patterns of spellcasting. Life as a woman taught Elminster empathy and resilience, and it gave him insights into the roles and expectations that society imposed upon different genders. These insights would later make him a champion for those marginalized in the realms. Elmara's days were filled with prayer, meditation, and study. She mastered cantrips and then more complex spells, discovering the joy in weaving magical energy into shapes and effects that could heal and protect rather than harm. Miriala guided Elmara through the history of magic, from the ancient Netherese archwizards to the rise and fall of empires built on arcane might. Elmara learned the difference between reckless sorcery that consumed its caster and carefully measured spells that balanced power with responsibility. She learned how the weave responded to emotion, intention, and words, and how a single mispronunciation could turn a useful incantation into a deadly explosion. Through all of this, Elmara never lost sight of her original goal: to avenge her family and free Athalantar from the Magelords. She knew that if she could master magic, she could fight the tyrants on equal footing. Her transformation also enabled her to infiltrate the Magelords' circles and gather information she could never have accessed as Eladar. Over time, Elmara's hatred of magic softened into respect for its potential. She still despised those who abused it, but began to realize that the arcane arts themselves were not inherently evil. This shift in perspective prepared her for her next challenge, one that would test her loyalty and her capacity for mercy. After years of study, Elmara's training culminated in a spell taught to her by an ancient Netherese arcanist. This incantation allowed her to transform back into Elminster, merging her experiences as Elmara with the person she had been before. In this new form, he retained the empathy, knowledge, and magical prowess he had gained, as well as a deeper understanding of his own identity. With Miriala by his side, Elminster launched his campaign against the Magelords. He used the knowledge he had gained to sabotage their rituals, free prisoners from their dungeons, and rally Athalantar's oppressed citizens. The final confrontation was a battle of epic proportions. Elminster faced Undal, the false Magelord who had murdered his family, along with other corrupt wizards. Spells crackled through the air, swords clashed, and the ground trembled under the force of unleashed magic. Elminster's mastery of both blade and spell allowed him to cut down his enemies and evade their most dangerous curses. In the end, he prevailed, bringing down the Magelords and restoring hope to the people. Victory offered Elminster the chance to reclaim his ancestral throne, but he declined. He had never sought power for power's sake. Instead, he crowned Helm Stoneblade, a knight loyal to Athalantar, stating that his aim had been vengeance and freedom, not kingship. The humility he showed in relinquishing the throne impressed both nobles and common folk, and tales of his deeds spread far and wide. As he and Miriala departed the kingdom, Undal ambushed them. In the heat of the battle, Miriala revealed her true identity as Mystra. The goddess offered Elminster a place among her chosen, a select few mortals infused with her divine essence and tasked with protecting the weave. Elminster accepted, binding his fate to that of the Lady of Mysteries. The acceptance made him a guardian of magic and granted him a measure of immortality. He would age slowly, resist most diseases, and return from death if Mystra willed it. He would also become a target for gods, archmages, demons, and dragons who sought to control or destroy the weave. That a mantle of chosen was both a blessing and a burden. Elminster's responsibility was to guide magic users, prevent abuses of magic that could tear the world apart, and serve as Mystra's agent when her intervention was necessary. It was a role he could never completely put aside, no matter where his adventures took him. After the fall of the Magilords, Mystra sent Elminster to Comanthor, an ancient elven realm steeped in magic. The city of Comanthor was a place of breathtaking beauty, with soaring spires, crystalline towers, and leafy walkways woven through ancient trees. Its inhabitants were masters of art, music, and spellcraft, and their culture was vastly different from anything Elminster had known in Athalantar. The elves accepted him only grudgingly at first, wary of humans who they felt too often burned with impatience and greed. Elminster remained undeterred and sought to earn their trust through humility and hard work. He studied under some of the most powerful elven mages, learning new languages, forgotten rituals, and the philosophy of magic that intertwined with nature. His time in Comanthor became a decades-long apprenticeship that deepened his understanding of the weave and the responsibilities that came with wielding it. The elves taught him how to harmonize with magic rather than wrestle it into submission. They showed him that spells could be woven like music, that incantations could be sung, and that the beauty of a spell often lay in its subtlety rather than its brute force. Elminster absorbed these lessons, while never losing his love of mischief. He played pranks on his teachers and friends, leaving arcane chalk drawings that turned into harmless but embarrassing spells when touched. These antics endeared him to some and infuriated others, but his sincere respect for elven culture eventually won over even his sternest critics. During his time in Comanthor, he witnessed the raising of a powerful magical barrier known as a mythal. This protective enchantment transformed the city into Myth Drannor, a shining symbol of cooperation between elves and other races. Elminster helped raise the mythal, channeling his power alongside elven high mages in a complex ritual that required perfect harmony of mind, body, and spirit. The mythal would protect the city from intruders and allow it to flourish for centuries. Myth Drannor's golden age was a testament to the possibility of different peoples living and working together for a common good, and Elminster carried its lessons with him for the rest of his life. Throughout his decades in Myth Drannor, Elminster made friends and rivals. He debated philosophy with elven sages, learned swordplay from blade masters, and sang with bards under starlit canopies. He also encountered deep prejudice from those who believed humans were inferior or too short-lived to grasp the depths of elven culture. These challenges sharpened his sense of humor and taught him to disarm arrogance with wit rather than anger. He found time for romance, falling briefly in love with an elven maiden whose long life gave her a different perspective on time and commitment. Their relationship ultimately ended because he knew his path would take him beyond Myth Drannor, but it left him with a bittersweet appreciation for the differences between immortal and mortal hearts. Elminster also trained with militant orders of elves who guarded the woods, learning to blend magic with archery and swordplay. He became an expert at casting spells in the thick of battle, dodging arrows, and countering hostile magic. His ability to combine martial prowess with arcane might would serve him well in the centuries to come. The events of the world did not wait for Elminster to finish his studies. Rumors reached Myth Drannor of forces stirring in the Underdark, of Netherese artifacts uncovered by treasure hunters, and of dragons seeking to extend their dominion. Elminster understood that while he valued the serenity of Myth Drannor, his destiny lay in confronting threats wherever they arose. When Mystra called him away from the city, he obeyed, leaving behind friends, a mentor's blessing, and the memory of the mythal's gentle hum. His departure from Myth Drannor marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of a life defined by perpetual travel and interference. Elminster left Comanthor as a seasoned mage and returned to Faerûn as a guardian and meddler. He wandered across the realms, sometimes alone, and sometimes in the company of adventurers drawn together by fate. He walked the length of the Sword Coast, from the sands of Kalimshan to the icy waters of the Sea of Moving Ice. He explored the ruins of lost empires, battled undead in forgotten crypts, and parleyed with dragons atop storm-swept peaks. Everywhere he went, he sought to keep the balance between good and evil, to preserve knowledge, and to protect the powerless from tyranny. Elminster rarely stayed in one place for long, for trouble seemed to find him wherever he paused. In Waterdeep, he helped secret lords maintain their anonymity, and supported the founding of what would become the Lord's Alliance. He befriended Kelban Arunson, the Black Staff, another powerful wizard who would eventually marry one of the chosen, Laeral Silverhand. In the Dale Lands, he found a home in a sleepy farming community called Shadowdale. The people there embraced him with a warmth he had not known since his childhood. For many years, he used his powers to defend Shadowdale from orc hordes, Gentarim plots, and the occasional dragon. He became known as the Old Mage, a grumpy yet kind old man who smoked a meerschaum pipe and offered advice to those who needed it. He was often seen as a local eccentric who told tall tales to children and played pranks on nosy merchants. But those who looked deeper recognized the steel beneath the humor. Shadowdale became a focal point of his life and a place he returned to whenever his journeys allowed. During his wanderings, Elminster found himself in the middle of countless adventures. He helped raise armies to repel invasions, led small groups of heroes into the lairs of leeches, and used his wit to outsmart archdevils seeking to claim souls. When he could not defeat a threat through force, he resorted to trickery, deception, and negotiation. He once convinced a red dragon to leave a village alone by promising to paint the dragon's scales with runes that would terrify rival dragons. In truth, the runes were harmless, but the rival dragons fled at the sight of them anyway. On another occasion, he masqueraded as a simple bard in order to infiltrate a cult and sabotage its ritual from within, escaping just as the cultists turned on one another. Elminster's reputation grew as stories of his exploits spread. Many saw him as a benevolent protector, while others viewed him as an arrogant busybody. Some rulers welcomed his aid, and some forbade him from entering their realms for fear he would disrupt their carefully laid plans. He was a polarizing figure, but he was never boring. As centuries passed, Elminster watched friends grow old and die. He mourned each loss deeply, but he also found joy in teaching new generations of adventurers. He took on apprentices, some of whom became great heroes in their own right. Among these were Storm Silverhand, one of the Seven Sisters, and a chosen of Mystra, and Dove Falconhand, a ranger whose skill with bow and blade earned her respect throughout the Dale Lands. Elminster acted as a foster parent to Mystra's chosen, nurturing their talents and instilling in them the importance of restraint and compassion. He also sired at least one child, a daughter named Nanra Shalais, whose life as a thief and spy would mirror aspects of her father's early years. His relationships were complicated by his longevity. Few could truly understand what it meant to see centuries pass. He loved and lost, loved again, and sometimes turned away from love to spare others the pain of watching him live on while they aged. Throughout his travels, Elminster often answered questions posed to him by other characters, and even real-world readers, in articles written by Ed Greenwood for Dragon magazine. In those metafictional pieces, he would meet wizards from other Dungeons and Dragons settings and share lore about monsters, spells, and items. These meetings often took place in Greenwood's own home, with the author hiding in a closet or under a table to eavesdrop. This blending of reality and fiction added another layer to Elminster's legend, as readers saw him as both character and storyteller. Elminster's wanderings extended beyond Faerûn. He traveled to other planets and planes of existence, including Earth and the outer planes. He walked the bright avenues of the celestial city of Elysium, plunged into the storm-racked valleys of Acheron, and journeyed through dreams and nightmares. In these travels, he forged alliances with beings as varied as celestial deva, genies, modrons, and even the occasional devil whose contract he twisted to save a soul. He learned that no realm was entirely pure or wholly corrupt, and that the balance between forces was constantly shifting. He became adept at plane shifting, planar etiquette, and bargaining with beings whose perspectives on time and morality were far removed from those of mortals. His ability to think on his feet and adapt to new situations saved him countless times when dealing with alien entities. In the Year of Shadows, 1358 DR, the gods were cast down to walk among mortals in an event known as the Time of Troubles. Mystra herself was forced to inhabit a mortal body, and the weave became unstable. During this chaotic period, Elminster played a crucial role in defending the balance of magic. He helped form the Rangers 3, a group consisting of the half-elf warrior Sharantyre Moonflower, the rogue Leo, and the dwarf crusader Jasail. Together they battled a shadowy organization known as the Shadow Masters, who sought to exploit the chaos for their own gain. As the gods walked the world, the old order crumbled, and the avatars of divine beings clashed. Elminster focused on defending Shadowdale, which came under assault by the Gentarim, mercenaries, and warlords led by the avatar of the god Bane. Elminster and Bane fought an epic duel over the fate of the Dale lands. The battle shook the earth, and spells ripped through the sky, drawing the attention of gods and mortals alike. In a desperate move to banish the invaders, Elminster called upon a powerful incantation that threatened to destroy both him and his foe. The resulting explosion consumed both combatants, and for a time Elminster was believed dead. In truth, he had been transported to another plane of existence, where he remained trapped for some time. His absence left a void in the defense of the Dalelands, but his friends and fellow Chosen stepped up. The Knights of Myth Drannor, a group of heroes he had long supported, and the Rangers 3 continued to defend the region from the Gentarim and other threats. During the Avatar crisis that followed, the Weave was threatened by forces that sought to unravel magic itself. Elminster, still recovering from his exile to another plane, returned to find the realms in turmoil. He worked tirelessly with his allies to restore balance, interacting with gods and mortals alike to ensure that the Weave would not be destroyed. He confronted ancient foes, solved riddles posed by gods, and manipulated events behind the scenes to bring the Avatar crisis to a close. When he finally returned to Shadowdale, he was greeted with both relief and frustration. His absence had forced others to grow and take responsibility, and his return reminded them how much they had come to rely on the old mage's guidance. Elminster recognized the danger in being too involved and strove to empower others rather than dominate them. His experiences during the Time of Troubles and the Avatar crisis reinforced his understanding that even the most powerful wizard could not do everything alone. Elminster's meddling nature and status as a Chosen of Mystra made him a target for beings of extraordinary power. One such foe was the archdevil Nergal, who ruled part of the 9 Hells. In a story recounted in the novel Elminster in Hell, the old mage was captured and dragged into the infernal realm. The devils of the 9 Hells relish the suffering of souls, and they believed that if they could break Elminster, they could strike a blow against Mystra herself. For centuries within the timeless halls of hell, Elminster endured torment and temptation. Chains forged of lies and regrets bound him, and images of friends he had failed tormented his mind. The devils sought to strip away his identity piece by piece, offering him false comforts in exchange for surrendering his soul. Elminster did not face these horrors alone. Within his mind, he conversed with Mystra, Azuth, and his friends. drawing strength from his relationships and from his stubborn refusal to let anyone else dictate his fate. He remembered his early vow to never again let wizards abuse their power, and he recognized that giving in would betray that oath. He survived the torments by retreating into memories, reliving past adventures, and reminding himself of the reasons he fought. He also used his time in captivity to study his captors, learning about the hierarchy of devils, their laws, and the limits of their contracts. When the moment came to escape, he did so not through brute force, but through cunning. He tricked a devil into violating the terms of its own bargain, triggering a loophole that allowed him to slip out of hell. Though physically and mentally scarred, he emerged with his sense of humor intact, and an even deeper understanding of the dangers of contracts with infernal beings. Elminster's ordeal in the Nine Hells changed him. He became more cautious in his dealings with fiends, and more sympathetic to those who had been trapped by infernal bargains. He collected books of infernal lore and used them to educate young adventurers on how to avoid being ensnared by devils. He also taught them that courage was not merely a matter of standing up to demons, but also of admitting one's own weaknesses and accepting help when needed. This humility resonated with his students and peers. Upon returning to Faerûn, Elminster resumed his role as a guardian. He traveled to Candlekeep to exchange knowledge with monks and sages, visited the wizard Azuth's temples to pay respect to the god of wizards, and took part in the politics of the Harpers, a secretive organization dedicated to promoting fairness and thwarting tyrants. His experiences in hell had made him even more determined to prevent mortals from falling prey to devils. He spent long hours advising kings, queens, and commoners on the dangers of making deals with fiends and the importance of reading the fine print in any contract. He also became more vocal about the importance of forgiveness and redemption. His own survival in hell had depended not only on his knowledge and cunning, but also on the compassion he had received from those who cared for him. No story of Elminster would be complete without addressing one of the darkest chapters of his life, the Spellplague. In 1385 DR, Mystra was murdered, an event that shattered the weave and sent waves of wild magic across the plains. For mortals and gods alike, the Spellplague was catastrophic. Spells failed or exploded, magical creatures went insane, and entire lands were torn apart by blue flames. For the chosen of Mystra, whose power was tied directly to the goddess, the trauma was personal and profound. Elminster felt Mystra's death like the ripping out of his own heart. Without his patron, his connection to the weave was severed, and much of his power vanished. He found himself suddenly limited in his magic, unable to cast many spells he had relied on for centuries. He remained unaging due to his chosen status, but he was weakened and vulnerable in ways he hadn't felt since his youth. He withdrew to Shadowdale, consumed by grief and anger. The loss of Mystra left him with a sense of emptiness that no amount of mischief or study could fill. Friends who visited him reported that he was bitter and withdrawn, prone to fits of rage at the mention of the Spellplague or at those who dared to question Mystra's choices. He lashed out at would-be conquerors who used the Spellplague as an excuse to expand their realms, but he also turned away visitors who sought his advice, believing that he had nothing left to offer. Elminster's vulnerability drew enemies. Those who had long harbored grudges against him saw the Spellplague as an opportunity to strike. He survived assassins, demons, and rival wizards not through overwhelming magic, but through cunning, his knowledge of tactics, and the support of his allies. He realized that though Mystra was gone, his duty to protect the weave had not vanished. The weave itself had been damaged but not destroyed. The flows of magic were wild and unpredictable, but they still existed. Elminster slowly emerged from his grief, aided by friends who reminded him that Mystra would want her chosen to continue her work. He threw himself into studying the new state of magic, learning how to stabilize spells in the chaotic weave and teaching others what he discovered. He also fought those who sought to use the Spellplague for personal gain, from opportunistic sorcerers to gods of destruction. During this period, he played a key role in preventing Thais Zulkers from converting the Spellplague into a weapon that could have devastated entire continents. While he regained some of his power, he never fully recovered what he had lost. Yet his resilience and adaptability allowed him to remain a formidable wizard and an invaluable advisor to those who still clung to hope. Decades later, the Second Sundering began, a series of cataclysms that restored many aspects of the realms to their previous state. Mystra returned, and with her return, the weave was stabilized. Elminster's connection to the goddess was rekindled, and with it came a renewal of his strength. He was no longer the bitter old man hunched over his pipe, but once again, the meddling, laughing wizard who delighted in puzzles and pranks. He embraced his renewed role with a renewed vigor, guiding new heroes as the world settled into yet another delicate equilibrium. Elminster's personality is a study in contradictions. He is simultaneously humble and arrogant, serious and playful, compassionate and ruthless. His humor is legendary, characterized by puns, pranks, and an irreverent attitude toward pompous authorities. He delights in confounding those who take themselves too seriously, often by appearing as a fool or by forcing those around him to question their assumptions. Yet beneath the jokes lies a mind of exceptional brilliance and a heart that aches with the weight of centuries. Elminster uses his humor as a shield, deflecting questions he does not wish to answer and disarming those who might otherwise be wary of him. He rarely reveals the full extent of his powers, preferring to let others underestimate him. Those who poke fun at his pipe, his tattered robes, or his apparent forgetfulness may find themselves on the receiving end of a spell that turns their hair pink or their clothes inside out. He uses such spells not to humiliate, but to teach humility and to remind people that appearances can be deceiving. As a chosen of Mystra, Elminster wields extraordinary power. He is a wizard, but his abilities are not limited to arcane magic. He has trained as a fighter, rogue, cleric, and archmage. His knowledge of combat allows him to hold his own in melee, while his rogue skills make him adept at infiltration and sabotage. He has served as a cleric of Mystra, channeling divine power to heal and support his allies. His spells are varied and inventive, ranging from simple cantrips to world-altering rituals. He has invented spells such as Elminster's Evasion, a technique that allows him to dodge harmful magic with ease, and Elminster's Effulgent Epuration, a dazzling display of energy that protects allies from hostile magic. His spellbooks are filled with unique incantations that reflect his playful nature, his love of mischief, and his deep understanding of magic's potential. Elminster's powers also include the ability to travel between planes, communicate across great distances, and summon beings from other realms. He is skilled at countering spells, reading magical auras, and identifying magical items. He can speak with animals, commune with nature, and sense disturbances in the weave itself. His longevity has granted him knowledge of forgotten languages, lost rituals, and the history of countless cultures. His experience allows him to recognize patterns that younger mages might miss and to anticipate the actions of foes who think themselves clever. Elminster's relationships are as varied as his spells. His allies include the Harpers, a loose network of bards and spies dedicated to maintaining balance and thwarting tyranny. He is close to other chosen of Mystra, especially the Symbol, the Witch Queen of Aglarond, whose power rivals his own. He counts among his friends the monks of Candlekeep, the elves of Myth Drannor, and the dwarves of Mithril Hall. He also maintains grudging respect for those who oppose him when they do so in defense of their people, recognizing that good intentions can be misguided. His enemies include tyrants, necromancers, devils, drow matriarchs, and gods of tyranny. He has fought Bane, Lolth, and Shar, and he has thwarted countless lesser villains whose ambitions would have brought suffering to innocents. Yet he also grants opportunities for redemption to those who show genuine remorse. His willingness to forgive has led some former foes to become allies, and his reputation for compassion has encouraged others to seek his counsel instead of his wrath. Among his most famous relationships is his friendship with Kelban Blackstaff, a Runson. The two wizards share a mutual respect and an occasionally antagonistic friendship, competing in wit and power while supporting each other's goals. Elminster also acts as an advisor to Waterdeep's secret lords and to various kings and queens across Faerûn. Many rulers listen to him because he speaks plainly, and because his centuries of experience give weight to his words. He is equally at home in a palace, a peasant's hut, or a tavern, and he treats servants with the same respect he gives to monarchs. Though he has loved many times, Elminster's most enduring relationship is with Mystra. His devotion to her is central to his identity. He reveres her not as an unattainable deity, but as a friend, mentor, and sometimes stern taskmaster. He has argued with her, disobeyed her, and even cursed her in his grief, but he always returns to her service. Their bond is based on trust and understanding born of centuries of partnership. Elminster's impact on the Forgotten Realms cannot be overstated. He has shaped the course of history through direct action, and through the guidance he has given to others. He has prevented wars, toppled tyrants, exposed conspiracies, and nurtured heroes. He has also inadvertently caused chaos through his meddling, for his pranks and interventions sometimes ripple outward in unexpected ways. Yet he accepts responsibility for his mistakes and uses them as opportunities to teach others. He has written numerous books, some serious and some whimsical. Among his works are travelogues describing the Sword Coast, spell books filled with unique incantations, and treatises on magic that are equal parts instruction and satire. Stories of his adventures have inspired novels written by Ed Greenwood and others, blurring the line between in-world history and metafiction. His name has been attached to drinks, toys, and plays, including a wooden nesting doll and a dark beer from Immersea called Elminster's Choice, which he disliked. His presence in the city of Baldur's Gate has been felt both in reality and in video games, where he appears to offer guidance and sometimes to chastise players who stray from the path of heroism. In Baldur's Gate 3, he serves as an emissary between Mystra and the wizard Gale of Waterdeep, reminding players that the goddess's favor is not easily won. Elminster has appeared in comics, board games, and countless gaming sessions around real tables where players treat him as a figure of myth. In fiction, and in game supplements, he meets with wizards from other settings, including the likes of Mordenkainen and Dalamar, sharing tales and learning from each other. Through these appearances, he has transcended his role as a mere character to become a symbol of the Dungeons and Dragons experience itself. Elminster's influence extends beyond fiction into the minds of players and readers. He embodies the possibility that one person can make a difference through knowledge, courage, and perseverance. He reminds us that humor and humility are powerful tools, that power must be wielded responsibly, and that life's purpose can be found in service to others. He shows that age need not dull curiosity or compassion, and that even those who have suffered unimaginable losses can find joy in simple pleasures and new friendships. The legend of Elminster continues to grow as new stories are told. When one hears of a wizard traveling incognito, smoking a meerschaum pipe and offering cryptic advice, One might wonder if the old mage is meddling once again. When a mysterious spell of unknown origin turns up in a dusty spellbook, scholars speculate that it may have been penned by him or by one of his apprentices. When a tyrant falls under mysterious circumstances, and a note is found saying, "Be more kind," many suspect Elminster's hand. He is a myth who walks among us, a mortal who has become legend without losing his humanity. There will come a time when even immortals are forgotten, but that time is far off. Until then, Elminster continues his adventures, his laughter echoing through the halls of Candlekeep, the forests of Cormanthor, the smoky taverns of Waterdeep, and the dreams of those who dare to seek knowledge without sacrificing their souls. Magic shapes the realms, but it is the choices made by those like Elminster that determine whether that magic heals or harms, enslaves or frees, corrupts or redeems. And if you ever hear an old man chuckling as he wanders down the road with a twinkle in his eye and a pipe between his teeth, perhaps offer him a greeting and ask for a story. You may just find yourself in the presence of the wizard who cannot die. Long before the Spellplague and the Second Sundering, Elminster recognized that one person alone could not maintain the delicate balance between good and evil. He knew that tyrants would rise and fall, that dragons and liches would scheme, and that common folk would suffer if no one opposed such threats. While in Myth Drannor, he met Dathlu Mistwinter and other heroes who shared his values, and together they planted the seeds of an organization dedicated to defending the realms from tyranny. This organization became the Harpers, a semi-secret society of bards, wizards, rangers, and rogues, bound by a common code. The Harpers operate under the principle that too much power concentrated in any one group leads to oppression. They believe in preserving knowledge, supporting the downtrodden, and keeping the balance between forces of good and evil. Elminster helped write the Code of the Harpers, a set of guidelines that emphasize personal responsibility, secrecy, and restraint. The code urges Harpers to act as individuals guided by conscience, rather than as a rigid hierarchy that could itself become tyrannical. In drafting the code, Elminster drew on his own experiences. He knew that secret societies could fall prey to paranoia, that personal ambitions could corrupt noble causes, and that too much secrecy could breed mistrust. He wrote clauses reminding Harpers to use violence only as a last resort and to avoid needless death. He insisted that Harpers share information rather than hoard it, for he believed that knowledge kept secret becomes a weapon for those who would abuse it. Elminster's involvement with the Harpers was not limited to writing guidelines. He trained agents, taught them spells, and told them stories that conveyed lessons about the nature of power. He infiltrated courts as a jester to expose corrupt nobles, disguised himself as a stable hand to overhear conspiracies, and posed as a traveling peddler to gather news from distant villages. Whenever he uncovered plots that threatened the balance, he alerted other Harpers and coordinated efforts to thwart them. The Harpers quickly became a thorn in the side of the Gentarim, an organization devoted to conquest and control. While the Gentarim built armies, forged alliances with dark powers, and established fortress towns like Gentlekeep, the Harpers operated in shadows, sabotaging supply lines, rescuing captives, and leaking information that unraveled the Gentarim's schemes. Elminster faced Gentarim agents many times, using his wits to outmaneuver them and his spells to counter their magical assaults. When the Gentarim unleashed monsters upon innocent villages, Harpers led by Elminster guided villagers to safety and ensured that the monsters turned on their masters through cleverly placed enchantments. Despite his dedication, Elminster was never blindly loyal to the Harpers. He warned that any organization, even one founded with noble intentions, could become oppressive if it lost sight of its principles. He clashed with fellow Harpers when they advocated for assassination or large-scale violence, arguing that such actions could lead to the very tyranny they sought to prevent. There was a time when he was exiled from the Harpers after they judged that his methods were too unorthodox. During this hiatus, he continued his work independently, proving that one did not need the imprimatur of an organization to do good. Eventually, the Harpers realized that his perspective was valuable, and he was welcomed back, although he continued to challenge them when he felt they were straying from their mission. Elminster's role in the Harpers extended to diplomacy. He brokered alliances between the Harpers and the elves of Evermeet, the dwarves of Mithril Hall, and even certain dragonflight who saw the wisdom of maintaining balance in the realms. He encouraged Harpers to respect local customs and to work with local leaders rather than impose their will. He insisted that they listen more than they spoke, a lesson many found hard to learn. When young Harpers asked him why he risked his life for strangers, he told them that every person saved is a story preserved, a song that can be sung, and a future that can flourish. He reminded them that the Harpers existed not to gain glory, but to allow others to live in peace. Under his guidance, the Harpers learned to value the power of a whispered warning as much as the force of a flaming spell. Elminster also maintained connections with other groups that shared the Harper ideals. He supported the Knights of Myth Drannor, a band of adventurers who protected the Dale lands, and whose members included Harpers and Harper allies. He worked with the Order of the Shooting Star, druids and clerics who guarded wild places. He cooperated with the clergy of Aumar and Drannor, gods of knowledge, to ensure that important lore was preserved and shared. He even coordinated with lawful organizations like the Lord's Alliance when their goals aligned with the Harper mission. The Harpers have endured betrayals, purges, and near extinction, but they persist because individuals like Elminster keep their spirit alive. He mentors new recruits, telling them stories of past triumphs and failures, and he encourages them to question orders that conflict with their conscience. He remains wary of any single person gaining too much influence over the Harpers, including himself. He once joked that if he ever became the sole leader of the Harpers, it would be time for someone to rob his spell books and exile him. His humility and humor serve as reminders that the Harpers' greatest weapon is not a sword or a spell, but a willingness to do what is right, even when no one is watching. One cannot speak of Elminster without mentioning his connection to the Seven Sisters. The Seven Sisters are mortal women, born of Mystra's essence, and gifted with silver hair, long lives, and innate magic. They are Laeral Silverhand, Alustriel Silverhand, Dove Falconhand, Storm Silverhand, Alastra Shentrantra Silverhand, better known as the Symbol, Kilue Veladorn, and Silune, who later became a spirit, along with an eighth sibling adopted into their circle. These women are Mystra's daughters in a spiritual sense, and each serves the weave in her own way. Elminster is their mentor, ally, and in some cases lover, and his relationship with them is a testament to his capacity for loyalty and love. Laeral Silverhand, once known as the Lady Mage of Waterdeep, and later the Open Lord of that city, shares a deep bond with Elminster. She is wise, patient, and tireless in her dedication to her city. Elminster admires her ability to balance leadership with compassion, and he often consults her on matters of politics and governance. Their friendship is grounded in mutual respect and shared experiences as chosen of Mystra. Alustriel, founder of Silvery Moon and later leader of the League of the Silver Marches, is the most diplomatic of the sisters. Her city is often called the Gem of the North, a place where magic, music, and learning flourish. Elminster enjoys visiting Silvery Moon, where he can discuss arcane theory with wizards, trade puns with bards, and sample the city's famous pastries. He and Alustriel share a gentle affection, their conversations often filled with shared laughter and debates about the responsibilities of power. Dove Falconhand, one of the knights of myth Drannor, is more martial than her sisters. She wields sword and bow with deadly precision and has served as a ranger, a warrior, and a leader of Harper bands. Elminster trained her in the use of magic, but she has taught him just as much about tactics and the importance of courage in the face of overwhelming odds. Their bond is akin to that of father and daughter, each willing to sacrifice for the other. Storm Silverhand is a bard whose voice can calm angry mobs or rouse armies. She is known as the Harper's voice, and she carries tales and songs across the realms. Elminster appreciates her ability to weave truth into melody, and he sometimes accompanies her on the lute when the mood strikes. He also comforts her during the many tragedies that befall those who live so long, reminding her that their work matters. Kilue Veladorn, unique among the sisters, is both a chosen of Mystra and a priestess of the drow goddess Eilistrai. She seeks to redeem her dark elves' kin by teaching them to live peacefully on the surface. Her temple is a haven for drow who reject the tyranny of Lolth. Elminster supports her mission, providing protection and counsel, and using his influence to persuade suspicious surface folk to accept her followers. Silune, once a wizard of Shadowdale, was slain but returned as a ghost who continues to guide and protect her home. Her spirit often communicates with Elminster, whispering warnings and advice on the wind. Though intangible, her presence is a comfort to the old mage, who understands the pain of losing physical form and the joy of continuing to serve. Perhaps the most complicated of Elminster's relationships with the sisters is his romance with the Symbol, the Witch Queen of Aglarond. The Symbol is a wild and passionate sorceress whose temper is legendary. She can conjure storms with a wave of her hand and level armies with a scream. Her power is both a blessing and a curse. She is addicted to the rush of magic and can lose herself in the weave if not careful. Elminster fell in love with her long ago, drawn to her strength, her vulnerability, and her fierce commitment to protecting her people. Their relationship is a tempest of emotion and spellfire. They argue, they laugh, they teach each other, and they risk everything for one another. During the Spellplague, Elminster fed powerful magic items to the Symbol to help stabilize her mind as she battled addiction and the loss of Mystra. He searched the realms for artifacts, braving traps and monsters to bring her a temporary reprieve. This quest drew enemies who recognized his vulnerability and forced him to outsmart assassins while juggling his duties. In the later Sage of Shadowdale novels, his love for the Symbol drives him to acts of sacrifice. He protects her even as she falls deeper into madness, and he refuses to abandon her when others counsel him to let her go. Their love is not a fairy tale, but a testament to the messy, complicated nature of relationships between powerful, flawed people. The Seven Sisters are not the only women of import in Elminster's life. He fathered a daughter named Nanra Shaless, known as the Silken Shadow of Marsemba. Nanra grew up without knowledge of her father's identity, learning the arts of stealth and espionage on her own. When she discovered that the old mage of Shadowdale was her sire, she was stunned and angry that he had not told her sooner. Elminster explained that he had kept his distance to protect her from his enemies, but he welcomed her into his life when she sought him out. Their relationship is strained, but ultimately affectionate. They share a love of freedom and a talent for staying unseen, and they both understand the cost of living in the shadows. Centuries after Nanra's time, Elminster discovered another descendant, a young woman named Faerûn Whitewave. Faerûn was a bard with little formal training in magic, content to earn her living in a tavern and stay out of grand conflicts. Fate had other plans when a battle with the wizard Manshun reduced Elminster to a cloud of ash. Rather than allow his essence to be scattered and lost, he merged with Amarune's body, sharing her mind and guiding her actions. This arrangement forced him to confront the loss of autonomy and to rely on another person's body and decisions. Amarune, in turn, learned about magic and the realms from one of its greatest wizards, while sharing her own perspectives and challenging his assumptions. Their time together taught Elminster humility and reminded him of his days as Elmara. It also showed him that every person, no matter how small or unremarkable they may seem, has the capacity for greatness when given the chance to learn and grow. The Seven Sisters, Amarun and Narnra, represent different aspects of the feminine experience in the realms, and Elminster's relationships with them illustrate his adaptability and his respect for women as equals. He listens to their counsel, supports their ambitions, and celebrates their successes. He also learns from his mistakes, recognizing when his interventions have crossed the line from helpful to paternalistic. Through these relationships, he becomes a better wizard and a better person. The years following the Spellplague tested Elminster more than any previous crisis. When Mystra died and the weave shattered, Elminster lost much of his power, and with it his confidence. He became a tired old man, burdened by memories and surrounded by enemies eager to strike. Ed Greenwood chronicled these struggles in the Sage of Shadowdale series, which begins with Elminster Must Die. In that novel, Elminster lives in an increasingly hostile world. The Gentarim and other factions hunt him, believing that he can no longer defend himself. Meanwhile, the Symbol's mind teeters on the brink of collapse due to her addiction to magic and the trauma of losing Mystra. Elminster embarks on a dangerous campaign to gather magic items with which to feed his beloved, hoping to stave off her madness. This quest takes him into dungeons and ruins, where he confronts old enemies and new foes who see an opportunity to end his Medlic forever. One such foe is Manshun, the archwizard of the Gentarim, who has clashed with Elminster for centuries. Manshun is known for creating clones of himself to cheat death, and each clone develops its own personality and agenda. In Elminster Must Die, Manshun believes that the time is ripe to finally kill the old mage and claim his secrets. Their battles are as much mental as they are physical, involving feints, traps, and alliances with unlikely partners. Elminster's enemies are not limited to wizards. Thieves' guilds, ambitious nobles, and unscrupulous adventurers all seek the treasures he collects for the Symbol. To survive, Elminster calls upon every skill he possesses. He fights with swords, hurls spells, plays the part of a doddering old fool to disarm his foes, and uses his connections to hide in plain sight. He finds allies among tavern owners, beggars, and former apprentices who owe him their lives. In the end, he succeeds in collecting the magic his lover needs. But his victory is Pyrrhic. His enemies have not been vanquished, and the toll on his body and mind grows heavy. The story continues in Bury Elminster Deep. Manshun attacks again, and this time he appears to win. Elminster's body is destroyed, reduced to a pile of ash by a combination of spells and treachery. Yet death cannot claim him so easily. Drawing on his experience as Elmara and his connection to Mystra's essence, Elminster infuses his spirit into his descendant, Amarune Whitewave. Amarune is shocked to find the voice of a centuries-old wizard in her head, and she is even more stunned when she begins to channel his magic. Together, Elminster and Amarune gather a party of adventurers, each with their own motives and secrets. Among them are a grizzled swordsman seeking redemption, a thief with a debt to pay, and a priestess of Timora who believes that fortune favors the bold. They travel across the realms, pursued by Manshun's forces, while Elminster teaches Amarune the fundamentals of spellcasting and the finer points of sarcasm. Amarune teaches Elminster to see the world through younger eyes, reminding him of the excitement of new experiences and the value of vulnerability. Their shared journey forces Elminster to confront his own arrogance and to accept that he cannot do everything alone. By the end of the novel, he manages to reconstitute his body thanks to a combination of powerful magic and the assistance of his allies. However, the process is not without cost, and he emerges changed, both humbled and strengthened by his time within Amarun. In Elminster Enraged, Elminster faces his own anger. He is commanded by a vestige of Mystra to work alongside Manshun to achieve a greater good, namely preventing a catastrophe that could destroy what remains of magic. The idea of cooperating with his longtime enemy pushes Elminster to his limits. He rages against the injustice of being forced to ally with someone who has caused so much suffering. His anger manifests in the form of uncontrolled magic and dangerous decisions. Yet beneath the rage lies a fundamental truth. Sometimes one must set aside personal grievances to serve a larger cause. Elminster and Manshun's uneasy alliance takes them to the Underdark, to ancient ruins, and to high castles where they battle mind flayers, demons, and Netherese mages. They argue constantly, trade insults, and occasionally try to kill each other, but they also share moments of grudging respect when each recognizes the other's genius. As the novel progresses, Elminster learns to channel his anger into determination. He sees that his rage, if unchecked, could lead him down the very path he has spent his life opposing. He realizes that cooperation does not mean forgiveness, and that one can work with a foe without forgetting their crimes. His maturation allows him to focus on the task at hand, protecting the fragile remnants of the weave. The climax of Elminster Enraged forces him to make a choice between vengeance and duty. He chooses duty, sparing Manshun at a crucial moment because the mission would fail otherwise. This act paves the way for their continued uneasy partnership in The Herald. In The Herald, the events of the Second Sundering come to a head. The goddess Mystra is reborn, and the weave is restored, but not without opposition. The Netherese archwizards of Athalantar seek to claim the weave for themselves, creating a mythala to siphon its power. If they succeed, magic across the realms will be twisted or destroyed. Elminster, still weary but reinvigorated by his renewed connection to Mystra, rallies allies old and new. He leads a coalition of heroes, including Storm Silverhand, Cormyr's war wizards, and dragons who owe him favors. They confront the Netherese in battles that shake mountains and alter the sky. Elminster's leadership is key, but he is careful not to act alone. He delegates, coordinates, and inspires, recognizing that the future of magic cannot rest on any one person's shoulders. The fight is brutal, and not all of Elminster's allies survive. In the end, Athalantar is destroyed, the mythala is shattered, and Mystra's rebirth stabilizes the weave. Elminster emerges exhausted but triumphant, aware that even victories come with great cost. After the Herald, Greenwood continued Elminster's story in Spellstorm and Death Masks. In Spellstorm, a mysterious summons brings Elminster to a remote castle, along with other powerful wizards. They are told that a spellstorm will grant untold power to whoever remains alive when it ends. The gathering quickly turns deadly as old grudges resurface and hidden agendas emerge. Elminster must use all his cunning to survive assassination attempts, unravel riddles, and determine who among the assembled is friend or foe. He plays his usual role of joker and meddler, sowing confusion while subtly protecting innocent bystanders. The spellstorm itself is a metaphor for the dangers of greed and the lure of power. Elminster resists the temptation to claim the storm's power for himself, instead focusing on ensuring it does not fall into the wrong hands. In the end, he again survives by a combination of skill and luck, and he watches as younger wizards learn valuable lessons about humility. Death Masks brings Elminster to Waterdeep, where he becomes embroiled in politics and murder. The city's masked lords are being slain, and conspiracies abound. Elminster joins forces with Laeral Silverhand, now the Open Lord, to unmask the killers and preserve the city's fragile stability. The novel blends mystery with political intrigue, showcasing Elminster's talent for navigating complex social landscapes. He trades barbs with nobles, drinks with dock workers, and consults with thieves, gathering clues while keeping his own secrets. He demonstrates that a wizard's greatest weapon may be his ability to listen and to empathize with people from all walks. Across these novels, Elminster grapples with age, loss, and the changing nature. He learns that his greatest strength is not his ability to cast spells, but his ability to adapt, to trust others, and to find joy even in dire circumstances. He proves again and again that the wizard who cannot die is not invincible, but is instead resilient, able to rebuild himself and his mission no matter how many times the world is torn apart. Elminster's longevity affords him a unique perspective on life and death. He has watched civilizations rise, flourish, and fall, and he has mourned countless friends. He knows that immortality is as much a curse as a blessing. In quiet moments, he admits that living forever can be lonely, that his heart has been broken many times, and that humor is one of his few defenses against despair. He tells young wizards that magic is a tool, not a solution. He warns them that the pursuit of power for its own sake leads to corruption, madness, and ruin. He teaches that the greatest spells are those that heal, protect, and illuminate. He admonishes those who think they can control the weave without consequence, reminding them that the weave is a living thing with its own will. For Elminster, the ethics of magic are inseparable from the ethics of life. He argues that wizards must consider the impact of their spells on the wider world. A lightning bolt that incinerates an enemy might also ignite a forest and destroy a village. An enchantment that bends a mind can strip a person of their agency. He says that every spell must be weighed against the harm it could cause and the good it could do. He advises mages to speak with farmers, healers, and soldiers to understand how their magic affects everyday lives. Elminster is not above using magic for prankish purposes, but his pranks are instructive rather than malicious. When he turns a pompous lord's wig into a nest of chirping birds, he is teaching humility. When he enchants ale to taste like swamp water for a tavern full of bullies, he is giving them a taste of their own medicine. He finds joy in small spells that make people laugh, that repair broken toys for children, or that conjure flowers to brighten a sick room. He advocates for sharing magic rather than hoarding it. In his view, knowledge kept secret becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. He writes books that explain basic spells in clear language and encourages communities to establish libraries where anyone can learn. He supports apprenticeships for those with aptitude regardless of their birth, believing that classism and elitism breed resentment and conflict. At the same time, he cautions that not everyone is suited to wield magic, and that those who use it must be prepared to bear the responsibility it entails. Elminster has been tempted many times by the promise of ultimate power. He has encountered artifacts that could make him a god, spells that could enslave nations, and bargains with beings who offer immortality without purpose. He has turned them all down. He believes that to be truly powerful is to know when not to use power. He values his relationships, his freedom, and his ability to wander more than he values thrones or titles. He laughs at the idea of ruling a kingdom and points to the pile of shoes outside his front door in Shadowdale as evidence of the only court he wishes to attend. His thoughts on mortality are likewise nuanced. He understands the fear of death, but sees death as part of the natural cycle. He tells those who seek immortality that living forever without purpose is a worse fate than dying with a legacy of kindness. He sometimes envies those who live full lives and then rest, but he also embraces his role as a watcher, a chronicler, and a protector. He believes that by sharing stories of those who have passed, he keeps them alive in the hearts of the living. Elminster's philosophy can be summarized in a few simple principles. Do no harm when you can avoid it. Help those who cannot help themselves. Respect the free will of others. And laugh whenever possible. He sees life as a web of connections, every act influencing another. Magic is one thread in that web, not the entire tapestry. He urges others to find balance within themselves and between the forces of the world, to seek knowledge not for personal gain, but for the enrichment of all, and to face challenges with courage and humility. As the wizard who cannot die continues his journey through the realms, he carries these principles with him like spells etched upon his heart.